Hello and welcome back to Shelf Center. This is Bryce. Thanks so much for stopping by. Thanks for liking and subscribing. This is something you end up enjoying. You never know, it could happen. Well, we are trucking along here. We've got our top 100 science fiction books of all time, according to me. And that's why we've got number 40 through 31 today. I am wrong a lot, I know, I'm sure. Just check the comments, just kidding. Most people have been pretty nice. And my goal here is just kind of throw a ton of books at people, like I did with my top 100 fantasy books of all time. And so you can kind of get an idea of what's out there and maybe see what will work for you. So anyway, let's jump into... All right, number 40, we're right off the bat with a bit of a stretch, but this is going to be The Vagrant by Peter Newman. This is so good. It's really good. You might think it's fantasy, but it definitely has some like science fiction things, and that's why I consider it more science fiction than fantasy. My favorite part about this is you're following essentially a mute, a baby, and a goat. And the goat might be my favorite character, but you're like, how am I reading a book with people that don't talk, and I am rooting for them and I love them. So it's mind-boggling. And then some things happen that you're like, oh, this isn't what I thought at all. And so anyway, it is just excellent. Well done. I absolutely love it. Number 39, we're going with maybe I consider my favorite Stephen King book of all time outside of The Dark Tower. I do have to make that qualification. The Dark Tower books are some of my favorites of all time. But The Long Walk is just really good. So it's Stephen King writing as Richard Bachman, as everyone knows by now. But it is really well done. It is just this kind of crazy, again, more post-apocalyptic probably than anything. There's a fine line, I know. And these kids just have to walk. And whoever signs up just has to walk. And it's a long walk. And if you stagger or you slow down in any way, you're given a couple warnings, and then if you delay too long, you get shot. So it's kind of crazy, but it's really well done. It's like really insanely well done, and highly recommended. And it's pretty short too, so if you want to check if you like Stephen King, if you haven't already, then, because I know I had to check it out, and I went about it the wrong way with his arguably one of his longest books at least. I recommend starting a little shorter. All right, number 38. I'm going to go with Jurassic Park by Michael Crichton. This is one where definitely science fiction. Okay, so no qualifiers here. No stretch. But this is one of those where I thought I had seen the movie. I've seen it all. Sure, I guess I'll read it. It was, I think, free at the library or something. And it's good. It's still good. And despite having seen the movie, I don't know, 1,000 times as a kid, it is so good, and it's still good, and it's just totally worth reading. It's a little different from the movie, but not totally different. So it's got, like Malcolm, you're still like, yeah. Malcolm's just great, but it's hard. He's hard not to see as Jeff Goldblum, who's pretty much just Malcolm, and Malcolm is him. And Jeff Goldblum is just Jeff Goldblum in most of his roles, if not all. 37, we're going to go with a George R.R. Martin. It's A Song for Leah. This is more of a novella, but it is excellently done. This is part of why I'm like, I hate that George is like so stalled out on his epic A Song of Ice and Fire, because he writes science fiction, like great science fiction. I'd love to see some more science fiction come out of him, where it's like he's just so focused on this. If he came out with anything that wasn't just him editing, I'm sure he'd get tarred and feathered or something. So, but A Song for Leah is really good. It's a great concept. It's, again, this kind of like, would aliens be how you think they are or how we are? And I don't know, almost like a speaker for the dead. I mean, that's too much of a spoiler, but it's a really cool concept, really interesting. And again, it's George R. R. Martin, so it's really well done with these great characters. Number 36, we're going with the Shadow Ops series. This is by Mike Cole. It's hard to it's kind of magic because it's superpowers, but it's superpowers, but then it's also, there's a lot of technology too. So that's kind of I think it's more science fiction than fantasy, and I'm going to stick with that. Okay. But I love this. I love this series. It's so good. But it's like, instead of, how many times have superheroes been done, or then there's the Watchmen superheroes that are kind of like almost like anti-superheroes, even though they're like not anti-heroes, but anyway, they're kind of, I guess. Anyway, but this is like, if superheroes were around, then they'd be conscripted into the military and be controlled. Anyway, control point. This, I mean, I have a little bit of bias here, but the bias was before I got quoted in the book itself. So one of my old reviews is quoted in the book. So, but it's so fun. It's such a cool concept of these cool powers just utilized against the enemy, and sometimes with, again, utilizing technology and all this, and just a great fun series. Lots of action. 35. This is an odd one, but I love it, and I know not everybody does, but this is How to Live Safely in a Science Fictional Universe by Charles Yu. I loved it. I fell in love with this concept. I read it and was just like, it's kind of nuts. It's kind of out there, but it works, and it's really just a fun concept. You got to read it. Like, I almost like, just anything I would say would spoil it, but I love the concept. I mean, it's kind of up there with, which you'll see, Only Forward, if you've read that, or I think I put, like I'll just stick with that. Only Forward it's kind of up there where there's like this concept, you either like jive with it, or you're like, that's the stupidest thing ever. And I jived with it. Is that the word? I jove with it. It's great. I want to read it again already. I'm thinking, now that I think about it. Number 34, we got some more Scalzi. I promised there'd be more, and there's even more after this. The Android's Dream by John Scalzi. This is one of his standalones. He's got a lot of standalones, actually, by the way. Just lately, he was writing a lot in the Old Man's universe, Old Man's War universe, and then he's got this new, what is it, like the Consuming Fire and all that. I forget what it's called. It's got some name to it. I need to read. I need to catch up. I'm always behind here. There's too many authors on my list, but The Android's Dream, obviously that's an homage to Do Android's Dream of Electric Sheep. It's got some of that, but it's more like tongue-in-cheek, kind of just for jokes and funniness. It's a pretty funny story, but also serious at times. It's like the typical Scalzi, which is, it's a serious story, but lots of good humor throughout. And this is one of his better ones. All right, 33, we're going to go with Star Wars Revenge of the Sith by Matthew Stover. Matthew Stover, you will see later on in this list for his other series. I absolutely love this. This is one of the best, if not the best, at least the best that I've read, novelizations of a screenplay, or movie novelizations, whatever you want to call it, ever. I mean, it makes this movie, I already liked, of the prequels, this was the best, I think. I think it's kind of, overall, most people think the same. And I actually I even liked it at the time, and I never disliked it. You know how everyone goes through these stages with Star Wars where like you like it at first, and then you like think about it and you're like, no, wait, I don't like it. Which I think is fair to some degree, like, because I did that with, I didn't really I liked the prequels for the most part. I didn't have to go back. Like, I can acknowledge like the Clone Wars was the weakest in my opinion. But The Force Awakens, I remember being like, oh, that was pretty cool when I first saw it. And then the more I thought about it, the more I was like, did they just do A New Hope again? I think they just did A New Hope again, which was a little frustrating. So, but this, as far as novelizations, it's amazing. What's cool is that just you get into the heads, and that really helps, I think, a lot. Part of it was cool. I was just talking about this on X/Twitter, and Matthew Stover actually responded and like does his usual, like, because he's a nice guy. Oh, thanks, say thank you. But then R.A. Salvatore, who wrote, I believe, the Clone Wars one, who agreed with me, by the way, and was like, yes, it's a great, you did such a good job. And they just proceeded to have this conversation, which was like blowing my mind, because I'm pretty much the reason for it all. I'm kind of a big deal. I don't know if you guys know that, but it was so cool to see them kind of chat about it. And Stover was kind of like, yeah, I was given kind of some leeway to kind of dive into some things, and he really just made it his own while still fitting it into it's a screenplay. It's already a movie. It's like it is what it is, but he made it more somehow by like a lot. So anyway, if you want to see how movie novelization is done at the best, there you go. All right, 32. You can see I've got a lot more of these the more we get to the top of my list. This is going to be Ready Player One by Ernest Cline. This is a blast. I read it twice now. It's just so much fun. The sequel is more of the same, and so it's clearly a cash grab, but then it's still fun, and because I liked the same. I liked more of the same. I wanted more of the same. I don't know. I was okay with it, even though I also kind of panned it and made fun of it. But Ready Player One itself, it's just a fun, like, especially if you like the 80s, like that helps, but it's not all about that. It's fun to just see the, like, being in this whole different world and this Easter egg hunt and just fighting your way through to solve the stuff and get to the next thing. It's just a lot of fun, and it makes sense in this one as opposed to Cline's follow-up Armada, which just kind of felt like, if you don't like the 80s in the way that I like the 80s, you're doing it wrong. Like, you're not the right kind of nerd. Whereas this one made sense in the context here. All right, number 31, we've got Edge of Tomorrow by Hiroshi Sakurazaka, and I apologize if I'm pronouncing that wrong. This is also became a Tom Cruise movie, Tom Cruise / Emily Blunt movie. Is Live, Die, Repeat is what they changed it to, even though Edge of Tomorrow sounds way cooler. Don't ask me why. Edge of Tomorrow is way better, but it's essentially like alien science fiction Groundhog's Day, which is a really cool concept done in different ways, and it's super fun, super good. I honestly, this is one of the rare cases where I think I might actually like the movie better. It's a great movie and making me go, why am I not watching that right now? Because I want to see it again. But anyway, it's super fun concept, and just fighting bugs, high action, but cool, like just really cool Groundhog Day. It's a great movie, right? So that's 40 through 31. We are getting there. Only the top 30 is left. So here goes to nothing. And let me know if you have any desire to read any of these, or if you've already read them, let me know too. And we'll catch you next time. Bye.